In other news, the judges' conference ended in Mombasa with the fate of what is surely a highly contentious subject still hanging in the balance. Here's our coastal region reporter John Juma with more on this.
It was one of the topics under discussion by judges during their annual conference held here in Mombasa last week. The contentious issue being, while the Constitution recognized traditional or cultural marriage as part of marriages under customary law, the same Constitution recognized marriage to be between people of opposite sex, begging the question, should the practice be abolished or be upheld? Take a look at the story we prepared for you earlier. In some of the African communities, a woman who is barren was and is still allowed to marry another woman to get children with another man on her behalf. On the same note, a woman who only gave birth to girls was allowed to marry another woman so as to get male children for her. This was because long time ago, only boys were allowed to inherit family wealth, particularly land. Mzee Philip Barno from Eldoret explains further.
Hii hatujasema ni lesbianism, tunasema kwamba ni mama anachukua msichana lakini mwenye atazalisha watoto ni mwanaume, na hasa katika kitabia yetu alikuwa anachagua mwanaume mmoja wa hiyo familia ili amzalishe watoto na ili aweze kurithi yeye ili hiyo nyumba ipate kuwa na urithi.
But while this cultural practice has been there for years as part of customary marriage, judges have different views on whether it should be abolished or upheld. These were some of their reactions during their annual conference held last week in Mombasa.
No woman needs to be married by another woman because under Article 45, marriage in Kenya is heterosexual. And therefore, this kind of arrangement does not even fit into the definition of marriage. But I'm not saying that we ignore the ones that have already taken place, but moving from the Constitution of Kenya 2010 into the future, such practices should be discouraged, and every woman has a right to choose to be married by a person of the opposite sex.
Some people think that this particular practice is demeaning to the women. Some were even saying that such women who are married by female husbands are kind of slaves for their female husbands.
The woman husband is obliged to pay dowry just as any other marriage, even though the two will never have sexual intercourse. The children bear the name of the woman husband as the surname. By virtue of the Constitution, this traditional marriage, which is common among the Nandis, Kipsigis, Abagusi, Masais, and Kambas, among others, is equally recognized by law.
The Constitution recognizes marriages contracted under customary law. And since woman-to-woman marriage is a customary law marriage, then in that way, the Constitution says it's okay.
But some judges have reservations about it.
It's nothing like woman-to-woman marriage. Woman-to-woman marriage is an English construct because when the Englishman came, he found a relationship which he could not define.
Kulingana na vile maisha inabadilika, inaweza kuchukuliwa, watu wengine wanaweza kuchukua vibaya. Si kama zamani. Zamani kulikuwa na maadili, watu walikuwa nafuata vizuri na kufuata maadili yenye haiwezi kudhuru sana wenye wanafanya tamaduni hiyo. Lakini wakati huu kuna wengine kwa Kiingereza wanataka advantage. Wanataka advantage to the negative side.
According to judges, common disputes in courts related to the contentious woman-to-woman marriage are whether the woman and her children can inherit property if her husband dies. Elders from communities that value this tradition on the other side want it protected from those who may confuse it or take advantage of it to legalize their same-sex marriages based on lesbianism.
Hata ikiendelea kwa wakati huu, tunaona kwamba ni sawa kwa sababu kuna wasichana wengi pengine hawaolewi, na zaidi ya hayo kuna wengine pia hawajapata watoto, ama wengine wako kwa manyumba, mabwana zao walifariki na hawana la kufanya.
Some judges, however, warned against taking a stand on the matter so as to allow matters already in court to be determined on the basis of the evidence adduced. John Juma, KTN News, Mombasa.